Hello, and we are live with episode 54, which is called Wine Unites Us, Strengthening Bonds and Customer Loyalty. We are so excited to have two guests today. We have with us Stephen Nasiatka, Chief Wine Officer of Stephen Uncorked, and Jean-Charles Boisset, Proprietor, President, and creative director of the Boisset collection. And so we always start off, and this is actually the first time we've ever had two guests, so I'm going to kind of let you all fight it out, but we always start off with the question, what's on your mind? So what's on your mind?
Well, for me, I'm excited to be with two twins. What is on my mind is how many seconds apart were you born?
We were 7 minutes apart.
7 minutes apart.
However, there is a funny story about that, which was we were born on the night that the clocks were being changed. So it is unclear exactly what time we were born, but according to the doctor, it was 7 minutes apart.
Clock in March.
What?
No,
in October. In October. It was in October.
October. Wow.
Yes. So yeah. How far apart are your twins?
22 minutes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, and you know what is on my mind, thinking of the both of you, is the twins, and that's my question to you. What did you both drink before their mother's milk? Each of my twins drank JCB 69 and JCB.
That is excellent.
That's great.
I don't think we have a good story for that one. But...
And now the girls are in ebullition. They're always smiling.
Do they love wine? They love
wine? They love wine more than they love their father. So
well, that's important. Well, so
do they love France? I guess that's one question. Do they love France?
I believe they have to, because their passport is 50% French, 50% American.
Yeah, I was going to say I was with them in Paris, and I think that they all like France, I believe.
Stephen spent a lot of time with them at the Olympics.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow, excellent.
Nice.
I remember you went. I forgot that it was during the Olympics, but yes, that must have been a little bit crazy time, but anyway. Well,
in the realm of wine and loyalty building, because that's our episode topic. What maybe Stephen, if you want to jump in. So what's your thoughts on how do you get people to, not only enjoy the Boisset collection, but also to actually build that relationship with it? So this is their go-to wine. Or if it's not their one wine, it's like these are the ones we want to go to.
Yeah, I think last night was a perfect example of that, right? So it was funny because last night our sommelier Marnie Old was hosting a dry January special, which is why I kind of made the joke before around this French kiss wine, which was I think the only sweet wine that we had. I think the other 27 that we had were all dry. But yeah, coming back to that, it really comes back to having fun with it, enjoying it. Again, I think Jeff can attest. Last night there was a 1 hour. We had 1 hour of networking, which there was plenty of wine being poured. We had the 69 and the 21 that JCB referenced before. But then beyond that, and there were a couple of others as well. But then beyond that, really it was just a lot of fun, a lot of networking. Some people that knew each other, most of them did not. And by the end of the night, everybody was fast friends. And it was funny because from 7 till 8 was kind of that open networking. From 8 till 9 was the Marnie show, where she was basically coming on the screens. And I think we had 4 or 5 different TV screens playing. And I think everybody kind of tried to follow along for the first 10 minutes. But of course, everybody was having such a good time that they went back to conversation, that sort of thing. I said, listen, you can get the recording tomorrow. This is what it's about. You can do that later. This is what it's about. It's about networking. It's about entertainment. And the reality is, people came back, they were asking, oh, that French kiss, that's really interesting. Where do I get that? Or, just some of the different things. And it really does bring people together. And I've had people who don't really love wine become wine enjoyers. I've had people who find interesting ways to gift wine that now have really actually resulted in bringing their business to the next level, doing custom label wines, that sort of thing. That wasn't something that they didn't think about before. And I think in that case, really turning swag upside down. You think about swag, right? You put your logo on it, you put your whatever on it. But it's like if I were to give you a wallet for Christmas or your birthday or whatever, and it has my face on it, you're probably not going to use it. And that's the way I kind of see some of the swag when you give it as a gift. Is that really a gift? No, what you do is what one of my customers did. They put their logo on the bottle, the customer's logo on the bottle. They tied it into something that was important about their customer. And I saw the text that were going around, and it literally was, "Holy shit, this is amazing. It's I can't believe this. That was unexpected." And so really, I think that wine does, in a lot of cases, allow people and businesses to do that unexpected, and that really brings it next level.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I have a question, I guess, for both of you. So mainstream culinary, right, has changed from just kind of satisfying the need to eat now into much more connoisseurial and involved experience. And wine is traveling the same road. So what are the challenges that the wine industry is experiencing in this kind of mass adoption progression?
Well, Stephen, why don't you start and then I'll continue?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think when I come to that, it's 100%. And I think it's really a broader statement that people are really looking for experiences, right? They don't want the same old thing. I work with, for example, a ton of, private wealth advisors or wealth managers, right? And these are people who are working with billionaires, right? They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be disturbed. But it was funny because I have conversations with some of them. They're like, wait, you do a wine blending session. You can actually make your own wine. And people are like, wow, that's amazing. Right. And that's something that their high-end individuals would actually show up for. So I kind of bring it back to the broader experiences. And I think that if for example, I go back to some of the wine and food pairings, and I know JCB is the king of some of these, right? Some of the truffle pairings and those sort of things. And really it is bringing those to that next level, to that level of enjoyment that really is bringing people out. And again, I think I tie it back to enjoyment. Like last night, the theme was, of course, Dry January, but it was also taco and wine pairing, right? Who's ever done that before? And so we had 4 tacos, 4 wines, and I think I did a pretty damn good job. Hopefully, Jeff agrees. But the feedback was very good, right? And so it's one of those things that making things different, making things interesting, and it doesn't have to be hot cuisine, right? It doesn't have to be a 3-star Michelin, although I love the French Laundry, of course. But it really is making things interesting, and in some cases, making it, pun intended, bite-sized for the right individuals, right? Somebody is kind of taking those baby steps. So maybe for them, it's the taco and wine to start, and then there's kind of that going on down the road. And then I'll let Jean-Charles jump in.
Yes, so we want guests to be immersed in a very unique world. As you can see here, I'm in the Red Room at Raymond Vineyards. So time stops. We want to transform and people's perception about wine and transport them into a world they could have never imagined. So the Red Room here, we do amazing tastings. As an example, today we're doing a chocolate and wine tasting. So something very unique that is part of the experience in this very lush environment. In another room that is more gold and marble and crystal, we do caviar tasting. And as Stephen mentioned, we bring people into that world so they can as well blend their own wine. So we have a room, it's all about making your own wine. We have a room, it's all about as well learning from soil and the different soil profiles, so the wine can be explained as a different taste. Another room is all about crystals and crystal cellars, and we show people how wine change by being carafed in a beautiful crystal decanter. So in every of our winery, Buena Vista, we dive into the world of history, where you taste wine in a barrel in the cave that were the first caves ever built in the history of California. In another winery like Deloge Vineyards, we take you on a fabulous organic and biodynamic tour where you taste wine from the barrels, from the estates, and you can really, through that experience, understand it. So thanks to all those experience, back to your first question, Eric, on loyalty, we're building a great level of faithfulness, loyalty, because people really see something different and they keep wanting to come back and bring friends to experience something new, something different. So we believe in that a lot, is, as Stephen said, creating experiences, whether at his house, at your house, or as well at the wineries.
Jean-Charles, I have a question for you on that. Is this something that is this approach of using, I love this approach of using experiences, because I agree with you. It's what really connects people to like, oh, I remember this. And so now I want that wine just to bring me back to that moment or whatever. But is this something that you have done all along? I mean, you've obviously been sort of building up your business for many years, but is this something you started out with, or is it something that you sort of came to over time?
Well, it's something I really came with over time.
Mm-hmm.
If I was born with the fortune of being born in the vineyards,
Mm-hmm.
made wine since I'm literally 3 to 4 years old, and all along. And I realized besides making great wine, we need to design and create experiences and places where people are really feeling the wine that we're making in a very different way.
Yeah.
This is why I believe when you go to any of our wineries, whether it's in France or here, they're very different, very unique. Where we do thematic events like a casino nights, like a magic nights, like a food and wine pairing. I mean, Stephen comes to San Elena in our JCB lounge.
Right.
And we do every first Tuesday of the month an amazing experience for 34 people, which is a 3-star Michelin or 2-star Michelin wine pairing experience. So we only 34 of us. You
Right.
meet the chef, you taste the wines, and the experience is very special and unique, like you've rarely lived in your life.
Right.
So those are the things we like to create, and they're all different depending on the winery. Some you would be in the garden, some you would be more in a room, some you would be in a blending room, another you would be in a historical cave, some you would be, which we're setting up right now, into a historical furniture environment that feels like you're in a museum or in a chateau in Paris, but you are actually in the wine country of Napa, and you taste Napa wines paired with French wines. And the best of two is a very unique experience as well. So another way is we have great museums, which we own, and we take you through the history of Napa Valley, and we taste wine through those periods or each of those areas, San Elena, Oakville, and we tell you the history of it. So everything, the beauty is different. So you want to spend a week with us, you can.
Right.
Everything is so uniquely different.
So
Right.
I have a question too, and maybe this is for you, Stephen, which is, how do you take that, what sounds like incredible experiences in Napa Valley, in France, whatever, how do you take that to the local level? How do you take that to the local wine shop? Obviously you did your event. I think it's curious that you did a dry January event on wine, but whatever. but
We just went with dry wine.
How do you take it to the local level? What's your philosophy on that, Stephen?
Yeah, I think as Jean-Charles was alluding to, or maybe more directly said, it is about storytelling, right? And so it is telling the tales, it's telling the stories. And it's funny, like last night, one of the people, one of the individuals, Dina, who has come to know a few of my events, she came up to me and I was wearing a crocodile pin, right? And JCB, of course, knows the revenge. And so, I was wearing that last night, and she said, well, every time that you are wearing something, it seems like it's always tied back into the wines. And so what she said is, and so I mentioned that one, and I mentioned the sheriff, right? Because it is tied back into the sheriff of Buena Vista, which basically he is considered the father. Yep, exactly. He's considered the father of modern viticulture. And so it was funny because usually in the past, she had first saw me wearing basically a pair of handcuffs, which of course there was all kinds of fun with that in a very professional setting. But of course, the reason that it ties into that is that individual was the first sheriff of California, right? So he's the sheriff of San Diego County. And the sheriff, this guy from Hungary, who again, father of modern viticulture, started Buena Vista Winery. So Buena Vista is the oldest premium winery in California. And so, of course, sheriff, handcuffs, that all ties together. And then last night, like I said, I was wearing the crocodile pin. And where that comes back full circle is the sheriff, and I won't even try to pronounce his name. It's Augustin Harusti or something pretty close to that, who called himself the Count. Basically, he at some point went to Nicaragua, and he was ultimately killed by a crocodile, right? So the pin, hence that's why it's called the Crocodile's Revenge. But literally, as I go to these different things, people remember those stories, right? And the fact that somebody called out, wait, I thought that you already had something for the sheriff. It's pretty wild.
That's cool. Jean-Charles, how do you, so, I mean, obviously Stephen is one of the people that is sort of an ambassador for your collection out in the world. How is this something that, what, the type of thing that Stephen is talking about? Is this something that you train the folks to do?
Well, Stephen is an exceptional individual, as
Yeah.
you know, from his style to his charisma to his passion to his learning abilities, and he's passionate about wine, which is greatly helpful because he loves to learn on his own. But yes, we have this ambassador program is very unique because everybody can become an ambassador as long as they qualify from all the terms I just mentioned: passion and electricity for wine, and the love of the wine itself, and wanting to tell stories. So yeah, we have a lot of materials. The wineries are very historical and unique, so that there's a lot to be said about them.
Right.
Wines are obviously very highly ranked. Every single wine we produce is probably from 88, 89 points out of 100 to 100 points. So we very fortunately have, for half a century, made really spectacular wine as a family, and many of those wineries for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we look for people with great talent, charisma, salesmanship, theatrical skills, and they present the wines, or they bring you part of the wine society, because we have something very special, which is called the Wine Society, that allows you to receive wine from us, specifically curated by Stephen for you, Elena, for you, Jeff, and for you, Eric, and for all your friends listening today.
Right.
So thanks to Stephen, he will say, okay, what do you like today? What do you like to eat? How do you drink wine? And he will ask you a few questions and say, from there, I specifically curate for you this selection of wine. And then you receive it on an automatic shipment, and it allows you to build your own cellar, to have an extraordinary curator like Stephen. And we have up to 1,500 ambassadors around the United States now. Not as many as great as Stephen, of course, because some are not as passionate as others. Some do that as a hobby.
Right.
Some do that just an hour a week. But many are amazing, and we've built an incredible dynamic around this. And it's great because it allows you to really bring the tasting room to your living room.
Right.
Right? As the beautiful picture of Stephen's living room, I assume, behind, and invite people over, serve wine, and people can buy wine and taste them with him and hear about all those stories.
Yeah, and I can attest to this. I mean, I've been to now 2 events that Stephen has run. One was a very small, intimate, like 4. There were only I think 4 or 5 of us doing the wine blending, which was just in a sort of a private area in a restaurant, and it was just quite it was just an amazing experience to, I think I mentioned before, I've always been a white wine kind of person, not so much a red wine person, and so Stephen is slowly teaching me to appreciate red wine, but it was just fascinating to I didn't really understand that this blending process and this way of sort of taking sort of the wine kind of as is, and with its strong flavors and strong notes and whatever, and sort of mixing them together and creating something totally different. So it was a learning experience, but really just fascinating connection. And then of course the event that Stephen was talking about last night with wine and tacos, and just excellent pairings of things that were just it was just fun. It's fun, and it's memorable. I think it works really well. So
yeah, and one thing I want to jump in and say too is that it's I kept it to, we talked about strengthening bonds, customer loyalty, those sort of things, but also tying back into a couple of the questions that were raised and some of the comments that were in here is really, I could have added a ton of other things, right? And one of the ones that I didn't focus on, but definitely ties into customer loyalty, ties into what people are looking for from an experience perspective, is really the sustainability aspect. I know that JCB had mentioned, biodynamics, some of those sort of things, which, again, for a lot of people is a very nebulous term, and there are literally college courses on that alone, because there's a lot to it. But I think just coming back to that is really one of the focus areas of our wines, right? And that really resonates with a lot of people. There are certainly trends as far as people, especially younger folks, not drinking wine, especially as much. But those are the things that really do resonate. And we start bringing that plus the experiences and everything else. That's been a huge selling point, and something certainly I'm passionate about myself. And now, so I'm going to throw something to John Charles. And, I think one of the best stories that we have is really, and I think is very indicative as what basically the company is all about, is Deloche. So JCB, if you want to kind of talk about what you did at Deloche and why, and how that kind of represents your overall philosophy and mentality.
You're so kind. Thank you. So Deloche Vineyards is an incredible property in Sonoma. Sonoma is an hour and 15 minutes north of San Francisco. You pass the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge, and you're literally 5 miles from the Pacific Ocean. Mm-hmm. There's a beautiful river named the Russian River Valley, and the Russian River itself, that was named Russian River because the Russian came in the 1810, 1812 to actually trap skins and sell them to the Hudson Company in Canada and brought them back to Russia through Alaska. They planted vineyards at the time, which turned out to be great. And it became really an iconic region because of the cool nights and the warm days. So the specialty of that area, as Stephen loves, and we love Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, is really the iconic location in America. You have really the Russian River, probably the best of the best, then the Sonoma Coast, which is on the coastline of Sonoma, and then maybe the Marin County area. But that's really the pinnacle of what America has to offer. Then you can argue Oregon is great as well, and a few other pockets. But the Deloche family are a historical family from France, actually, who came to the U.S. in the late 17th century. And they really moved west at the turn of the early 20th century. And in the 1970s, founded Deloche Vineyards, in 1974 to be precise, as we celebrating this year and next year the 50th anniversary. So really was incorporated in 1975. So 50 years now of spectacular Pinot and Chardonnay, all farmed organically and biodynamically. So we listen to Mother Nature and the movement of the planets to produce amazing wines. And that's really something that makes it so special, so unique, and, so deep and rich for the history of California, because it's over 200 years of magical history and amazing wines that are being sold all around the world. So great winemaking. And finally, Stephen, what you related to is the bridge between Burgundy and Sonoma and the Russian River, because we call the Russian River the Burgundy of California, because it makes amazing Chardonnay, amazing Pinot, and let's not forget, incredible sparkling wine.
Yeah. Well, and one step further on that, John Charles, though, when you bought it, right, when you bought the vineyard, what happened?
Well, we decided to redo it in a great way, in a Burgundian way. So we pulled that vineyard, even though it was on the top 50 wine spectator list. Great wines, beautiful wines, very highly ranked wines. And we decided to redo the vineyards, bring open top fermenter from Burgundy, and change the whole process of viticulture and winemaking to make it the most haute couture, the most luxurious, best of the best.
That actually brings up a question for me. So, there's this famous, there's this movie, documentary style movie about this whole competition between California and French wines. And it was this big, crazy moment of, California wine. So as a French born vintner who lives in Napa Valley, what is your take on the France versus California?
Well, thank
And
you,
will
Eric.
you tell us?
I love how you provoke me deeply and you let me go to the deep soul of my mind. Well, you know, I'm a lover of America, and I've always been. I was raised with the American spirit. My grandparents were resistant in the Second World War, saved, as you obviously know, by your grandparents and great grandparents. So we have a deep friendship. So
Yes.
always love the US. So when that contest happened, the Judgment of Paris, that you're
Right.
referring to in 1976, a few brilliant people got together and it was covered by Time magazine. It was actually on the cover of Time magazine was
Yep.
how could we compete between the French? So they did what we call a blind tasting. So you actually don't see the label of what you're drinking. Numbered brown bag wine, top wines from both sides of the Atlantic, Burgundy and Bordeaux, and we lost again Napa Valley wine and Sonoma. So California won, France lost. It was truly done by a very neutral panel from both sides of the world and great people, and it really helped really to put American wines on the map.
Yeah.
They really legitimately won, and it became a revelation. And then many French people came to invest here because they said, wow, if it's so great.
Yeah.
And the region became what it is today. So I'm very pleased to tell you that a very legitimate win, and it really helped us to put America on the map and Napa Valley specifically.
Absolutely.
Chardonnay and a cab from Napa won, which was fantastic.
All right, so I am going to jump in because at this point in every episode, we like to have ChatGPT ask some questions, and I always like to ask people: would you like absurd first or thought-provoking first?
Surprise me.
All right, I'm going to do. I don't know. I don't really have. These are all sort of both. The absurd one was, say aliens land on Earth and demand a bottle of wine to understand humanity. What do you pour them?
I would give them the Surrealist. I think that would really bring them to the next level, and have a 100-point rated wine. And if they don't like that, then time to go.
It's not going to happen for them.
Jean-Charles, what is your answer? What would you pour?
I love it. Well, I would pour them most likely the JCB number 3, which is a wonderful wine that brings two worlds together in one bottle of wine. So we blend in that wine Burgundy, Burgundy Pinot with Sonoma Coast Russian River Pinot. So I would introduce them two worlds in one, so they could have the flavor of California with the depth and the richness of the soul of Burgundy.
Yeah.
I would have said, like Stephen, the Surrealist, but he said it. So,
so how about you pour them a glass of water and save the Surrealist for us?
Well, why would I serve them at best, Elena? Because I would want them to buy wine from us.
Right. Exactly. There's a whole new market on this other planet.
Right. Import it to an alien world.
So there's so many. Actually, sometimes ChatGPT comes up with terrible questions, but today it actually came up with some really good ones. So I don't know. This one I'm going to ask each of you. You can choose who wants to go first. But if you had to describe your own personality using wine tasting notes, what would they be?
I realize the same thing. If I go first, I probably take JCB. So
All right,
all right, fine. I'll let JCB go first.
Okay, so I would think passionate.
Bingo.
Passion is a big word. Seduction, I would hope, really works as well. Lingering, I would say a wine with a twist of a French kiss. That's easier for me, of course. I've practiced. Exercise. I would say and hope charismatic and eloquent.
Awesome. Excellent.
Yeah, so passion would definitely have been my first one as well. So I threw that. You're welcome, JCB. But I would say going beyond that, certainly spontaneous. Spontaneous is definitely a big one of mine, as well as really vivacious and just kind of powerful out there and all about enjoyment. I think it comes back to that. I think it comes back to the camaraderie. I think it comes back to, hey, I think, Jeff, as you know, right, it's all about the networking, those sort of things. And it really is just the unification, all those things, and fun at the end of the day.
So I have a related question, but specifically for Jean-Charles, which is, there's an article about you that says you are the James Bond of wine. So I'm wondering, which James Bond do you most identify with?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Which one of the James Bonds? And if you say Timothy Dalton, we might have to end the episode. But which of the James Bonds do you most identify
it's not
with?
going to be the answer you think. There's one I really like, was Roger Moore.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, obviously, of all the James Bond. It would be Roger Moore or Pierce Brosnan, who I really enjoy. I met Pierce in the Red Room right here.
Oh, yeah.
Because we came to visit for the film festival. We really enjoyed him.
Nice.
He was absolutely delightful. And but I would, Eric, my answer would have been, which Bond girl do you like the most?
Fair enough.
That is a much longer conversation.
Well, I'm going to name one because we work closely with her. She's a great friend. She has a beautiful charity named Open Heart. We have a wine with her named Joy and Serenity, and it's Jane Seymour.
Oh,
which we love. And Stephen knows her well too.
Yep.
And he promotes her wine named Joy and Serenity, where all the money really goes to Open Heart Foundation to help others in need, like the fires and many other situations like that. So Roger Moore and Jane Seymour were
Well, Jean-Charles, I'll let you be pouring that at an event next week. So it's a phenomenal one. It's a great, and a great cause.
Stephen, if there's a night when Stephen doesn't have an event, it's unusual. So he is out there. He is out there spreading the word. I have a question. What's next? Like what's where do you see things going from here?
Jean-Charles, I'll let you take that one first.
No, go ahead. What do I say
for you, Stephen? And then
okay. No, sure.
For the collection.
Yeah, no, I think certainly it's a passion of mine. Wine has been, and I continue to find interesting new ways, interesting partnerships. So I think, like Jean-Charles mentioned, at the wineries there's the chocolate pairings. I've partnered with the local chocolatier, Beth's Chocolates. We're doing something very similar, doing that more as a corporate type event. I recently went to an art gallery that has such a cool space in Newton, Mass. And so similar there, like it's such a cool space. And I just, as I'm walking through, the ideas are just coming through my mind as far as how we can utilize that. And again, for small businesses, which are suffering, really find interesting ways to bring that together to help them to obviously promote wine, of course, but to really come up with creative solutions. And then I think, as certainly Jeff, as you know, I'm a CFO for On the Side, and a CFO for a startup manufacturing company. And certainly I expect that that is something that I will continue to grow. It's a fantastic product. It's a very sustainable thing, which if you think about kind of a number of the different things I do, it does tie back to that sustainability angle, which is something that I'm as well passionate about. So that's what's next. And who knows? There's probably more things as well. I think one of the guys on one of the associations that I'm a part of, he mentioned that Stephen is a big problem for unemployment because I'm taking all the jobs.
That is true. That is true. It's everywhere. All right, JCB, what's next for your, where do you think you're going in the future?
Well, we're going with the aliens, as you said. I want to go to the places and the areas we've never been before. Yeah. I feel, what is so exciting for us is creating really always the ultimate experience. And we're working on something very special, which is a private club, which will be more of a social club as the extension of the JCB Collectors Program. So you could become a collector with us and receive, between $3,000 to $6,000 a year. Some amazing wines that we select for you. In addition, we're going to be very shortly opening a great social destination where you could become a member just to be social. You could have a wine locker for $5,000 and have 30 bottles of your favorite wines. You could really make wine with us for half a barrel and a full barrel. So this is something very exciting because I've always dreamt to make wine with you. I mean, I think that the twins, Jeff and Eric, should have a barrel here. So you would come to Harvard, we would pick up the grapes together. You will crush the grapes. Then the wine will ferment. You'll come back for blending with us. You'll make your wine. You'll have on the front label a beautiful social club logo, but on the back, you'll have your name and numbered bottle, and you'll be able to serve it to your friends and or, in addition, enjoying in the club. So I think that's kind of the ultimate thing I've always wanted to do, which brings not only wine to the world, but at the same time brings you to our world, to our location, and you are really part of a winery, and you're really part of winemaking, and you really make your own wine with us, part of this amazing, luscious, historical environment. So that's what I'm excited about, because it's going to the ultimate step. You're part of our world ultimately because you make your wine.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we are over time, and this was a very a rapid half an hour plus. We will talk later about how we can create Frère Jumeau as a wine.
Oh, I love the word Frère Jumeau. I'm going to count. Do I count for a full barrel of 300 bottles, not 100?
Actually, you have to buy 2 bottles at a time. That's the minimum.
Well, I'm very excited.
Anyway, but before we go, we always like to go around and have everybody say one thing about that they want to leave our audience with. And my joke is that I always make the guest go first because you don't get any time to think about it. Since there's 2 of you, I'm actually going to pick on Stephen this time. So what's one thing you want to leave with the audience with?
No, I think it is really just finding ways to have that joie de vivre, right? Really seeking out the fun, the spontaneity, and sometimes just do it, right? Go out there, get it done. I probably say yes too often. I think a lot of people say yes, not enough. So I'll leave it with that. But I'm going to ask JCB one question as well. What's in your glass?
I'm tasting Generation Raymond in the Red Room, which is the ultimate wine of Raymond. It's unbelievable. It's the 2018 vintage. It's so charismatic and silky and leathery, and it's poetry in the glass. So my would be to advise every guest with us tonight to make an effort to open 3 or 4 bottles of wine, even if they're by themselves, because wine can be kept over the weekend. You put it back in the fridge and you could serve it the next day, but you experience multiple tastes and flavors. Not to be shy with wine, open bottles, taste. You don't have to finish it. Enjoy flavor, taste, profile, expressions. Take notes. Have fun about what you feel. Mark the wine you like. Order pizza or caviar and foie gras. You could go high-end. You could go entry level. You could go casual. And enjoy wine and be excited. Exactly. Drink wine in excess as if it could be your last day.
Yes,
I agree. And it's funny, JCB, I think you'll appreciate this, but we'll actually show some having the enrapture as we have the year of the snake. So
I love it.
So we have the Happy New Year as well.
Well, I have a dinner with friends tonight. I'm bringing the Charmer.
Yes, that's quite nice.
That's the one with the jewelry around the bottle.
Snake references.
Yeah.
So
Jeff, why don't you
bring us home? Yes. So before I give my one thing, we always like to give people a chance to connect with our guests, and so I'm going to first put up Stephen you can find Stephen at stephenuncorked.wine, which is maybe the coolest
That's
extension ever. At stephenuncorked.wine. Stephen, people can reach you there, but also see, get access to the Wine Society and collections.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely. And again, definitely check out the Charmer. That is a beautiful, beautiful wine in addition to the wine itself. So
awesome. And then let's see how this does it. And then Jean-Charles, you can be found on Instagram at JC_Boisset. So great place to find him, and obviously check out all of the Boisset collection and all this great history and stories and so forth. I will just say, for me as a marketer, I love what this idea of creating experiences as a way of connecting people. I mean, the product, the wine itself is incredible. I've had such great wine in these events that I've gone to with Stephen, but the experiences take it to the next level and create that interesting connection. And so I love that idea, and I will pass it to Elena.
And I would second Jeff in that the process of engaging with customers is not that much of a sales process as it is inviting the customer into our product, into our process, into our environment, where customers then remain active and engaged and stay for a long time. So I really appreciate that. And I think in the kind of current trends of building community and engaging, it's very, very relevant, and definitely yes, cheers to that. Exactly.
Yes, I will agree.
Well,
And I feel like I'm not going to be the most original here, but I want to keep going on this experience thing, because I feel like that's really what we, one of the main focuses of the episode. And I think it is really interesting, as you said, Stephen, that maybe younger generations are not as into wine yet, but they're very into this experience, like Gen Z, Gen Alpha. It's all about the experience over the item itself. And it seems like you guys are very much onto something to try to, not only bridge France, California, but also bridge the generations. I want to thank you both again. This has been a fantastic conversation, and we probably could keep going for hours, but we probably have other things that we need to get to in our lives. Thank you both, and it was great to meet you, Jean-Charles, and to finally meet you, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
cheers.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And to the twins.
Yeah.
The Claire Jumeau barrel
Claire
that I
Jumeau.
will save.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Stephen, for